Hey, good morning, Choice Residential. Hope your day's off to a wonderful start. Today, I want to give you just a few tips to help prepare your sellers, yes, your sellers, for a home inspection. Little things they can do to prevent them from showing up on the inspection report. Sometimes these things say, have a qualified person investigate and repair as needed. The more of those, the kind of ambiguous write ups that we can eliminate, the easier repair negotiations are going to be. So I want to just give you a couple of quick tips. Number one is fix any drywall cracks. That should be part of the listing preparation. Drywall cracks, even though a lot of times they're harmless, they're natural, it's just normal settling, they can cause buyers to have concern and can cause an inspector to call it out as a potential structural concern. If you see a crack and you evaluate the area around it, you look in the crawl space, the floor below or above, and determine, hey, this is just a normal settling crack. It's cosmetic. As part of the seller preparing the home for the market, go ahead and have that fixed. Same thing with caulking. Anytime there are caulk joints that have separated, that can cause a buyer to think that there's movement. A lot of times it's just the caulk that has contracted. But go ahead and strip out that old caulk, put in a new bead anywhere that you're seeing that separation. It may be around trim, in bathrooms, around windows, wherever it may be. Just go ahead and make sure the caulk is up to snuff there, so that we don't cause any undue heartache with a buyer or any undue write-ups on the inspection report. Another thing to help the seller prepare for the actual inspection is to move items away from the garage wall. So keep in mind that a termite or pest inspector, wood destroying insect inspector, is going to need to see the perimeter wall around a garage. A lot of times people fill their garage up in preparation for putting the house on the market. So we want to make sure as they do that, there is enough room where a termite inspector can at least lean their head over, get their flashlight in, and look around all of the perimeter. Otherwise, it's going to get written up in their report that that was an exclusion that they couldn't see. And for some buyers, that's going to cause a problem where they're going to say, hey, I want my wood destroying insect inspector to be able to see all of the necessary areas. Need you to remove that stuff so that we can do it. You just don't want to get into that kind of issue down the road. Seller is not going to be happy, buyer is not going to be happy, and then nobody's going to be happy. So be proactive about that. Also, make sure that crawl spaces and electrical panels, sometimes homeowners will have locks on those. Make sure those locks are removed or unlocked so that the inspector can get in there and we don't have to have the inspector called back out. Now there's a return trip fee, that sort of thing. So we want to avoid that. Replace air filters and burned out light bulbs. When there's a light bulb that's burned out, an inspector is going to write it up because they don't know, is it the entire fixture that's not working or is it just the light bulb? So go ahead and eliminate the question there of replace any burned out light bulbs. And with dirty filters, again, it's going to give a buyer the impression that the system is not being maintained well. So go ahead and have fresh filters in there so the home inspector can see that and hopefully comment on that to your buyer client during the inspection to give them increased confidence. Make sure that all pilot lights are lit. So if there's a gas log fireplace, for example, make sure that is lit so that the home inspector doesn't have to write it up and say, hey, I couldn't test this because the pilot wasn't lit. Most inspectors, due to their requirements from the licensing board, will not light pilots. Some will do it if they have written permission from the seller, but many just won't do it at all. So go ahead and be prepared for that. Also, if there are any complicated systems in the house, make sure that you leave instructions. It's important to remember that you may have a smart home, or your seller may have a smart home where they just talk and their system, the lights turn on and TV turns on or whatever it is. The home inspector is not going to be able to do that. So if there are systems that are smart home functions, make sure that the manual way to operate the lights or whatever, that it's clear to the home inspector. So if your seller needs to write out instructions on how to get the floodlights on the porch to turn on, for example, make sure that they write those instructions out to prevent the home inspector from having to say, hey, this thing didn't work. I don't know why. Get it investigated. Go ahead and take proactive measures there. Also, with smart home features, sometimes clients will actually have the little blocker on the light switches so that they can't be turned off. In other words, they're basically always on and they use the smart home feature to get the lights to illuminate. They may need to remove those blocks on the light switches. And then the last thing is, this is kind of a fun one, but home inspectors will run the dishwasher. So if your seller has dirty dishes, maybe they have a bunch of kids and there's always dirty dishes in the dishwasher, they can actually load the dishwasher, put soap in it, and you could just leave a note for the home inspector and say, hey, if you don't mind, please run a full cycle. They're going to test the dishwasher anyway, so you might as well get your dishes cleaned as well. One little note there, make sure that the timing of that cycle they're going to run is short enough to be completed during the time span of the home inspection. So those are just some tips for you to help your sellers prepare for home inspections. If you have other tips and tricks that you have learned over the years, please put them in the comments below. We would love to hear about what's working for you and your clients so that we can share it with everyone else. Otherwise, until next time, take care.